Good day, everybody. The last YouTube videos we have done are the research and the essay for your creative writing project. And now we are moving on to response to literature, which is task 8 for grade 8. One of the poems that my grade 8s are doing is Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Who is Shakespeare? He wrote many plays. He's a very famous playwright. He wrote Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, Much Ado About Nothing, Midsummer's Night Dream, you name it, the list goes on. And Sonnet 18 is one of the poems he has written. Now, what is Sonnet 18 about? It is Shakespeare comparing the person he loves to a day in summer. It's quite a romantic poem. He is saying that his beloved is way better than a summer's day, and he gives reasons why she's better. It contains 14 lines. It has a rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Okay, that's 3 quatrains and rhyming couplet. It has Iambic Pentameter, which is 10 syllables. The first one not stressed and the second one stressed, and it goes in succession. I will explain that in further detail later. It has an extended metaphor, meaning it compares two things throughout the poem. It extends throughout the poem. And lastly, it has a romantic mood. Okay, here is the poem. Like I said before, there is an extended metaphor. What is a metaphor? It is figurative language that compares two things. What are the two things being compared? Shakespeare is comparing the person he loves to a day in summer, and that is extended throughout this entire poem. That's what extended metaphor is. And now you're wondering, what is iambic pentameter? Iambic pentameter means that every line is 10 syllables long. And within that 10 syllables, there's a 5 metric system that has a stressed syllable and an unstressed syllable. This is what I mean. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now let's count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 syllables. And there's a 5 metric system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And within those 5, we have an unstressed and a stressed syllable. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So it's an unstressed and a stressed syllable within these 10 syllables. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That is iambic pentameter. Within every single line, you will get iambic pentameter.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? For thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often in his gold complex dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declined, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summers shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and gives life to thee.
For those wondering, that was my dad. And he did a voiceover of Sonnet 18 for you. And now you're probably wondering, what do these words mean? And I'll be explaining that to you. I'll do it line by line and verse by verse. Okay, we'll start with ABAB, the first 4 lines. In these lines, Shakespeare compares his beloved to a summer's day, and he starts complaining about summer. So, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare you to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. So temperate, it's very smart. It relates to both the weather and a person. So you are more lovely and more temperate, meaning mild or constant or pleasant and gentle. So synonyms of temperate. She's more pleasant and more gentle, more constant compared to the weather, which is all over the place. Okay? Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, meaning that in summer you still have a bit of wind, you still have a bit of bad weather here and there. Rough winds do shake the trees or the rosebuds, the flowers in May, and it causes a ruckus like this. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. So if you have heard of the word lease before, it's when people want to rent out an apartment, right? And they get a lease for a specific amount of time in that apartment. I'm just giving an example, right? So they're saying summer's lease, the time we stay in summer, it's much too short, okay? The time you're staying in that apartment or in summer is just way too short. So that's just him complaining about summer and saying that his beloved is just better. She's more lovely and she's more pleasant. I'll go back to the rhyming scheme. Shall I compare these to a summer's day, buds of May? So that's rhyming AA. And temperate, date, 8 date, BB. That's the rhyming scheme. Okay, so that's what a rhyming scheme is. The last word rhymes with the last word in that line. More complaints about summer in the next stanza. Okay, sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines. The eye of heaven, it's the sun. Okay, the eye of heaven shines. Sometimes it's too hot in summer. And in contrast, often sun's gold complexion is dimmed. Shakespeare says the sun is a his. His gold complexion is dimmed. Okay, meaning that sometimes the sun is not hot, and perhaps it means that the sun turns into a moon, so his complexion suddenly dims. So on one hand, it's too hot, and on the other hand, it's too cold. Okay, it's not constant. Every fair from fair sometimes declines, fair meaning beauty. So Shakespeare is saying in summer, beauty declines. And this perhaps implies that summer can turn into autumn. So the beauty actually does decline. Declines by chance or by nature's changing course. So external forces creates this decline in beauty, and it creates the sun to be too hot or decline in its golden complexion. Then he switches it up a bit in EFEF. He starts bragging about how much better his loved one is compared to summer. So EFEF, this turn, but thy eternal summer shall not fade. Your eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair, that beauty thou owest. Owest means owns. So you won't lose possession of that beauty you own. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. Death and his shade, it relates to the Grim Reaper. Look how he's dancing. The Grim Reaper. Death shall not brag how you are wandering in his shade. So those who do not know what a Grim Reaper is, it's the personification of death that takes souls, and you wander in his shadows after you die. So it's saying that death will not brag about you wandering in his shadows, basically saying you won't die. Why? Because in eternal lines, in time thou growest. You will grow in eternal lines. And what does he mean by these eternal lines? Well, it's the poem. you will grow in the poem. So you will live on in the poem, therefore you won't die and you won't be taken by the Grim Reaper. Then the last stanza, GG, Shakespeare explains here why his beloved won't be taken from death. Okay, I explained that already, but I'll continue. Why she is eternal. So we mentioned the poem in the last one, eternal lines. As long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so as long as people can live on and read the poem, so long the poem will live on and it will give life to you. So this is how it works. In the poem, it will go on forever. Why? Because as people keep breathing, keep seeing, they will be able to read the poem. And because they read the poem, they will read about her. As the poem is eternal, she will be eternal. So long lives this poem and people read the poem, she will also live on for eternity. And here I made a translated version so you can understand the poem in its entirety.
Shall I compare you to a day in summer? You are more lovely and more pleasant. In summer, rough winds shake rosebuds in May, and the time we stay in summer is too short. Sometimes the sun is too hot, and often the sun's gold skin is dimmed. Every beautiful thing will decline in beauty, by chance or by nature changing without a break in time. But your eternal summer won't fade. You won't lose possession of that beauty you own. The Grim Reaper won't brag about you wandering in his shadows, because within the eternal lines of this poem you will grow. As long as humans can breathe and see, this poem will live on and gives eternal life to thee, so that your beauty can live on for eternity.